Hey y'all, it is Nikki Buchanan here with the How to Be Magical podcast. Where we talk about all things fabulous, magical, black, and fun, and spiritual, obviously. This week's episode is very special, near and dear to me. I'm very excited about this guest. I've been a big fan of her for a long time. Loli Moon, uh, fabulously known as the Mystic Mami on Instagram, on Twitter for her astral insights. She's fantastic. I'm just going to read her bio, and I'm going to fangirl for a little bit afterwards because I feel like that's appropriate. Um, Lolly Moon is a mystic with a passion for wellness, holistic living, and spirituality. Growing up in a Caribbean household, she was taught at an early age how important it was to cultivate a strong relationship to the earth and healing through herbs. Her family had their own abundant garden, which became a staple for family health and maintenance. Lolly believes true spiritual alignment takes place through connection of the body, mind, and spirit, which also includes working with roots and herbs. Lolly launched Mystic Moon Medicine in April of 2019, but she has been an intuitive from a young age. With ancestral roots in Jamaica, but Lolly comes from a family of seers where discussing your dreams and visions at the kitchen table were the norm. Saying Lolly was taught this was a gift and that was something to be kept quiet about and to remain protected. So her focus shifted elsewhere. Lolly began studying astrology in her preteens for comfort, but the visions and dreams continued. After moving away from home for school, Lolly began diving deeper into her spiritual practice. This awakening led her to become a yoga instructor, a level one Reiki healer, a graduate of the Sacred Woman Rites of Passage with Queen Afua, and an holistic birth worker. Lolly's mission is to share the knowledge and wisdom that she has gained over her years of spiritual devotion through guiding others to connect with their ancestral roots and sharing practical rituals that support the ascension of the modern mystic. Oof.
Ashe. I'm thinking to
Yes.
myself, when did I write this? Because that was really the ancestors will do it. The ancestors will
No, because
do it.
I love it because at some point I'm looking at your face and she's like, hmm, oh, okay. Didn't know. No, sometimes you got to be reminded of all of the things. And I came across you on Instagram first, and then Twitter. And when it comes to astrology, honestly, there's so much. There's just like so much information, and we astrology. I think sometimes people they get over. It's easy. I speaking from my personal experience, it's easy to get overwhelmed because
Mm-hmm.
there's something happening literally every single day. Astrology is like a timekeeping system. So like every single day there's a planet moving and it's like all of these transits and then people always get like worked up and it's like, okay, I can't get worked up about the fact that it's 9 o'clock. Why am I getting worked up about the fact that the moon is ingress in Cancer? Like, what's that got to do? Like, I gotta,
Yeah.
like, I can't. But I gravitated towards you because I like how you have like a very practical, grounded approach to your astrology, and it's like you're very methodical with like, okay, this is the things that are happening, and then you have these little catchphrases and these sayings, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I don't know what it is about Caribbean people and the way they know how to just turn a phrase and just like that's just some diaspora shit where we just like we be speaking in parables with each other. You're like, girl, why are you talking to
Ashe.
me right now? Like, why are you talking to me? Like, why are you telling all these people my business? You got all my business out the road. Why? Why? So thank you so much for being here. I'm like I said, such a huge fan of your work, especially your astrology work, and I'm just very grateful to be speaking with you today.
Thank you. I am so grateful to be here. I love your work so, so very much. So I want to give you your flowers. I love your podcast. Your podcast has kept me sane in the matrix, okay, many days. Like, so grounding, so authentic, so real mystic shit. Like, I love it so much. So thank you so, so very much.
Oh, girl, stop.
Yes, to me, like, the diaspora workers were very quiet. We're very much like our elders in that way where we mind our business, but we know if it came to it, listen, there would not be any questions, okay? But we very quiet. And I'm like, you know what? We need to take up more space. We need to take up more space. And so when I tapped into you, I was like, okay, I think I found somebody. So I'm very grateful for being here.
Oh my
I just
gosh,
wanted
thank
to
you
say.
so much. Thank you. And it's funny you say that because it's like in your bio, I'm too Jamaican. My father's Jamaican, my mom's American. So like my mom's family is, from Brooklyn by way of South Carolina. My father is I'm first generation born
Mm-hmm.
in this country
Mm-hmm.
on that side. My father's very much a dreamer, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
we speak in dreams and lotto numbers and all this symbol. Like the man literally called me a couple weeks ago in tears about this dream that he had about my brother. He's like, please
Oh
call him and let what's
no.
going on. And I thought he was joking because he's a jokester, but the man was in shambles, and I was like, okay, daddy, what happened? And he tells me this whole dream, and I was like, damn, that's a lot. And we deciphered it, and it was actually what he dreamt was actually something that was going on. So it was like,
Okay, there you go.
and like it's very interesting. Especially, I always think about that Jamaican connection to dreams,
Yes.
and like Nanny of the Maroons, and how her
Mm-hmm.
dreams navigated people to freedom and safety, and like how God bless Nanny, and all of the women that are like
Ashay.
Nanny, and the men that are like you know in that same line of listening to those dreams, because in this culture, in Western culture, that type of stuff is like, oh, please, dreams. You just ate something funny. There's nothing.
Right.
It
Right. What
doesn't
you
mean anything.
smoking? It's dismissed. Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
So one of the first questions I want to ask you, and it's kind of answered in your bio, but I kind of want to get more into it, is what are
Mm-hmm.
some of your earliest memories of spirituality?
Yeah. Yeah. So, yes, the dreams being discussed at the kitchen table, that is very true. That is very real. That is very Caribbean, I would say, as well. But including the younger generation, I don't know that that is very normal in every family per se. But I made it known to my relatives and to my elders at a very early age, like, hey, I'm seeing things, and I was told I need to let y'all know that this is happening. So I need to let y'all know by any means necessary. And so that's what I would do. I would make these theatrical moments to get their to get their attention. My Mars is in Leo. And just do the most so that they would understand, like, this is not a joke. And I would start to describe things in very, detail, and then they would start to take it seriously and realize, oh, she got the gift. Okay, we need to bring her to the conversation. But very quickly it became this hush hush thing. We can't really talk about this too much. You have to keep this to yourself, etc. But my childhood was filled with a lot of family funerals, actually,
Mm.
and there was, of course, the church going at times. My father is Jamaican, but he's Baptist. Jamaica actually has the most churches per kilometer square in the entire world. We also produce the most music and a bunch of other things. Let me just add. So Jamaica is very, 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 very special, very potent, very different. There's a reason why we're the most well known, and I know people hate that. It is what it is. The proof in the pudding, honey. Okay. Ono cantan mal. I don't care. So it is what it is. So that being said, the church thing, it wasn't a Black Baptist kind of church. It wasn't like a Jamaican Baptist church. It was a very white Baptist church. And so this kind of lesson of keeping the real, in the closet was kind of taught at an early age, I would say, in spiritual practice in many ways, which is very, I would say, aligned with being a mystic, being a bruja, being a witch, whatever title people you want to use for themselves. I don't really care what label you use, if you tapped in, you tapped in. But because the ties of the Caribbean are very complicated and complex due to colonialism, there's also this blend of spirituality as well in my childhood. So in the Caribbean, we have a blend of cultures, right? And in Jamaica, especially, we say out to many one people.
Yes.
My family is very much that. You see me? Okay. There's a whole lot of things that happen in that bloodline. And so my father's mother is actually she's half Punjabi. So I went to temples, to pujas, to like Hindu ceremonies in my childhood too. So there's always this different blend of like spiritual practices in my childhood that I kind of learned about. But at the same time, there was also this like hushness to it. So it was very complicated, to say the least. And so I feel like when I actually left home and was really finding my identity, and I entered this new city, which is the capital, and it's, not as diverse, and there is not that huge community of Caribbean people like there is back in the city in Toronto. And that's when I really started to tap in. But then my grandmother passed away, and so that opened up a whole other portal, and that continued the journey amongst many, many other things. And then that story can go on and on and on and on and on. I do want to say today, the time that we were filming this, it is September 7th, right?
Right?
It is the feast day of Yemoja.
Yes, it is.
So we want to shout out to the Great Mothers for a moment because the Great Mothers brought us here in this moment. So I want to just shout them out for a second because, you know, that is also a huge part of the story is the Great Mothers. The Great Mothers have guided me throughout my spiritual practice and all my earliest memories. But yeah, that's I know that was a little bit of a lot, but yeah, so there's a
No,
little bit of blend of a mix of everything. Yeah.
I mean, that's the nature of like, I don't know. I feel like as a child, when you start to dream and have things, because I have had dreams since I was a child as well, and like, I feel like my father was very much, he would entertain these conversations with me, and sometimes he would say, "Oh, maybe you ate something weird," but then I think that was just a lot of him, just like always like there's always that separation with the elders where like
Mm-hmm.
they know that there's something happening, but they're always trying to be like, no, but we're in this country, we're in this place, it's not safe, we can't, like don't want
Yes.
to encourage it too much, and it was like it wasn't something that I could help, and
Yeah.
sometimes the dreams and things like that can be very unsettling.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom doesn't necessarily dream as much. She has more sensations. She just like feels and knows
Mm.
things. But like she would entertain me as well. She would be like, okay, so what was going on? What was they wearing? What were you wearing? Where were you? And blah blah blah. And yeah, that was a very, as I got older, it just got more intense. I feel
Yes.
like as when you're little, it's kind of like something here and there, but then as you start to get older, it starts to be like I feel like to me around puberty,
I was
like
just
when
gonna say, yep.
like around puberty is when stuff started to really be like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, 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 we dreaming, and sometimes that's hard, right? Isn't it hard
Yeah.
sometimes to like have access to information but you really don't?
Oh, it's hard. It's very hard. Especially when, you know, you come from a culture that's very much about respecting the elders and not questioning things and like just doing what you're told and like this and that. Very much supporting the patriarchy, let's be for real. And that's changing. Okay, yes, it's changing slowly though, right? It's changing slowly. So I think for me, I always loved writing. And so having like a glittery journal and putting all of the dreams in that was kind of like my safe space. And the Scorpio stealing in me made sure that that little sparkly journal had the thickest lock on it, so ain't nobody catching my shit slipping. Like what do I know at that age? But whatever. Just making sure that they were safe and like returning to that space. And that journal was actually under my pillow. That was always where they was kept. Um, yeah, it was very hard. I remember growing up and just like even trying to have friends and like going to like slumber parties or like going to birthday parties and we go to different locations. I'd be picking up on certain situations and things. I'm like, oh, this place is haunted. Oh, okay. And like adjusting myself and trying to still be like a kid. But, if I were to open my mouth and really explain what I was going through, what I was feeling, I would probably feel like I was being kicked out or I would be iced out or, you know, no one's gonna be friends with a girl that's seen Duppies Untamed. Like that's not happening.
Not always, like I don't know. I feel like and it's so funny you say duppies because Jamaicans, we have such a strange culture and relationship with spirits, but it's like so adversarial all the time too. Where they're like,
Yeah.
the duppy, like, it's all of these things. But you're just like, okay, okay, like, yeah, I understand, but like, aren't they benign spirits? Are like, no, no, it's all evil. You're like, oh gosh,
Yeah, I
like,
know. I
uh,
know. It's so much.
it's
It's so
it's
intense.
really a lot. Oh gosh, especially being a kid. So, what do you remember? Like, okay, so I grew up going to Jamaica as a kid, and I remember just like being in Jamaica, and like it's the minute that we touched down, I was already feeling all type of stuff, and
Oh,
I used to get in
yeah.
so much trouble because I'm a crybaby. So like,
Mm.
like I'll be crying. I cried at the drop of a damn hat, and they like pick me to the eyes, and I'm like, yo, but you are one, you're screaming at me. Two, you're threatening to beat me because I don't even know what kind of infraction it hasn't incurred. Three, I see somebody standing over there, and now you're trying to beat me. Why are you beating me when I'm telling you there's a man standing over there? Like I didn't make him. I I'm not from here.
Listen, Jamaica, the amount of like spiritual work that needs to happen in Jamaica is, I could write a thesis on it, probably. There's a lot that needs to be done in Jamaica, for real. But yes, I think that when you're a child, you're just misunderstood, and that's very hard. But I think even for mystics who, who are listening to this and don't they're not necessarily, working a full-time job as a mystic, they're not necessarily full-time readers, not necessarily running a business and they have a 9 to 5 like most people do, or they're living a double life where they a mystic and they working a 9 to 5, okay, like many of us are. And you have to still show up and code switch at times, even though you don't really want to. Yeah, you still being yourself, but there are still situations and times where you're gonna have to code switch, and it is what it is. And so there's a polarity there too, that I think we have to try to break down, in order to change how things are right now in society.
Right. Right. And it is like a societal thing because you can't show up at work as your full authentic self all the time. The people that are blessed to have that, God bless them, but there's a lot of us that we have to do
Yeah.
a lot of things to kind of like keep
Yes.
our private life private. And
Yes.
you understand why the elders have some of those hard coded beliefs of like keep it a secret, don't tell anybody, because for them, in their time, it could cost them their livelihood. You could be, iced out of
Well,
employment. You could be
yes.
lose your housing. You could die.
Yes.
Jamaica's very, they'll burn
Yeah.
your house down. Okay.
They are. And you know what? It's funny you say that, because the last time I was there which was before the pandemic. Thank goodness. I'm so grateful I got to go before the pandemic had happened. And it was just before the 1 year anniversary of my grandmother's passing. So I knew I had to return. Because she was been calling me. I was like, all right, I'm going. And this is actually before I had just launched Missing Me Medicine actually as a business officially. That visit was very, 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 very spiritual. It was very, very, very deep. And I don't know why I wanted to play devil's advocate during that visit and do the most. Okay. Uh, But I decided, okay, I'm here. It's a new one in Aries. The beach is here. The ocean's looking beautiful and calling me. I have all this bountiful fruit and offerings for her. Like, we gonna do some things. And so I brought some battery lit candles and my crystals and my notebook and my cards and my things. And I wore all white all day. And I was like, I'm gonna see what happens when I when I'm out here. Yes, I wanted to see how far I could take it, because I was on a um what do you call it? I was at one of the resorts. So I was like, let me see how far I can take this, because y'all can see clearly I'm being very bold, but y'all gonna let me do this because what else are you gonna do? I want to see. And I basically was able to do everything I wanted, but there was police and security kind of surrounding me and like, but no one approached me or said anything. I was divinely protected, of course, obviously, but I like to kind of test the waters to see, because I'm like, y'all need to understand that this needs to happen and these things need to change, and I'm gonna come back and do more, you know? So I don't know if I've made a name for myself. Jamaica is a very small island. Everybody knows everybody's business and everything. So even if you're visiting and you're on a resort, people gonna know what you're doing and what you're tapping into and what you're not doing, what you're not supposed to be doing. We know as mystics from the Caribbean in general, reading with playing cards is very, very, very ancestral. And there's a secrecy to it, right? Yes, it's because they're more convenient, of course. But could you imagine if you were out here in Jamaica trying to live your same authentic mystic life, trying to out?
Girl, I couldn't do that.
You couldn't do that. So
Do that.
yeah, we have to use the playing cards, So there's kind of this like, I find like, like how, okay, there's always this meme of like, my culture's not a costume. I think when it comes to the mystic lifestyle and brujeria and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, it's kind of the same thing. Like, this is not a costume. Like, this is very real. And it can get very real very fast. Are y'all ready to meet those consequences? I know I am personally. Personally, I know I am, because I know what I can and cannot do. I'm always playing with water. Like, you know, but not everybody built that way. So are you ready to really walk the walk?
Yeah,
You know?
and you might be ostracized. You might have family members who don't want to associate with you anymore. You might have random people coming up to you trying to lecture you and bring you back to Jesus. And like, then Jamaicans are bold. They'll come right up to you and tell you, "You're
Very
going to
bold.
hell."
Oh yes.
I'm going to
Oh yeah.
hell, ma'am. I had a lady approach me in Bobby's department store in Flatbush because my hair was. I'm going back to my blue hair, and I had my blue hair. And the lady said, "Do you know what blue represents?" And this and that, you got it on your head, and this and the third. And I swear, in my mind, I swear to God, I just
What?
seen the spirit of like a fire and brimstone, white colonialist preacher on this lady because she was
Oh
berating me
my
so crazy in the street, and I
goodness.
was like looking at her like, "Miss, first of all, I came in here to buy my pots and pans, and I did not come in for a lecture. And two, I'm really not bothering you. Why is what I'm doing troubling you so much? But a lot of Caribbean people, we're gonna have to talk about it. The respectability
Mm-hmm.
politic of you got to be a good God fearing Christian, and you got to,
Mm-hmm.
you need to be doing this, that, and the third, and you definitely don't need to be doing anything like that. You don't need to be dabbling with no obia. Everything that's not God
Oh.
is obia, and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my gosh, like please release my
Yeah.
people from the shackles
Yeah. Yeah. It's very
because
deep. Yeah.
it's very, very deep, like it's very deep. And it's like, that's enough to scare enough a lot of people off. A lot of people cannot walk in
Yes.
that and take that and be like, you know what, how you feel about me is not none of my business. And it's really none of your
Yeah.
business neither. But
Yeah.
I'm not gonna, a lot of people will be like, okay, that would be enough to scare people back, into
Absolutely.
secrecy,
Yeah.
and
And it's very violent too. It's not like it's just confrontational in words. It can be very violent. And
yes,
it's not worth that to me, because me, listen, no, we're not playing those games. So it's unfortunate, but I think that in time it will evolve and change as everything else is changing. I think that as the colonial countries are changing, everything else underneath it will have to, because it's just the umbrella effect, I think. But it's a long journey for Jamaica for sure. The glamour is very, very real, and the grip is tight,
yes,
you
yes.
know?
Yes, but I still feel Jamaica is like such a beautiful, magical place,
It's
and like,
gorgeous.
I have an aunt who I'm dying to get down there. I'm like, please, auntie, just take me in the bush and just tell me things, like show me the stuff, like. And we had a conversation a few years ago, and she was like being real cryptic with me, and I'm like, why are you being so damn like?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm asking you? She's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, all right, you gonna
Mm-hmm.
play this game? Okay, fine. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
wait. You're gonna wait until I'm right in front of you. We could look each other in the eye, and then you go, "No, I'm serious, okay?" And then you can know I'm serious, and then take me up in the bush at midnight. I want to know all the
Yeah.
business. I want to know. Tell me, because,
Yes.
and I'm pretty sure, I don't have a lot of cousins who are into all of these things. So it's like that's
Mm-hmm.
the other part too about like we
Yeah.
don't want to lose recipes. Like we got to get to the elders and get this knowledge from them before they go. I ain't trying to
Yeah.
figure it out at a misa and at the table with some cards.
Okay.
I wanted you to tell
No.
me right now.
Yeah. No, absolutely. 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 Yes. No. It's so, so, so important that we go straight to the elders for the real work, especially those from the diaspora, because we're very few. Like you said, you don't have a lot of cousins that practice. Me neither. And I'm up in the north. Like, I cannot wait for when I move over to down south, which is the plan, because up here ain't nobody doing none of this. Opportunities are few and a few, and community is even more few, and it's very, very important that we have community, especially for what is developing like globally for us. We're going through major changes. Pluto's in Aquarius now, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Everything is changing. So community is very important. Leading on your elders, respecting your elders, and not taking them for granted is very, very important. So if they there, yes, tap into that magic. And sometimes you really gotta push your aunts. You gotta push your elders. Like my grandma, she's a Pisces sun, but she a Virgo moon. So she really be acting like she don't know, but she be knowing every damn thing.
And she's stubborn.
And she's stubborn as she's so stubborn. Love her so much. She's so stubborn though. And I'm like, I know you know so much stuff. And like, I'll ask her certain things and then she'll be like, oh, what do you mean? And I'm like, Grandma, you grew up in Clarendon. You know exactly what I mean. So we're getting there, but it definitely takes like a lot of warming up and stroking their ego too, and really applying things in a match. And I would say, meeting them halfway, kind of like how you have to meet your ancestors in your practice. Like you might want to do things this way automatically very quickly, and they're gonna be like, listen, that's cute, but I still want a Bible on the altar. You're like, but I don't.
They're like, and what they got to do with me? You coming to me for something, so you gonna give me? Okay. You right. You right. You right. All right. I don't want to fight with you. You know,
Yeah.
like my father. Listen, my father is a Rasta, so he's very much into his Haile Selassie and his tribes of Judah and his,
Gotcha.
and I am definitely not a Rasta. So, and no disrespect to the Rastas, but it's like
It's a lot.
also it's a lot. It's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, as a woman
Yeah,
in
no.
those traditions, I said, that's not for me. I'm sorry. You got to have me out here 3/5 of cloth and head wrap and all that thing because I like to skin out and I like to be cute and I like to.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so, and that's not acceptable.
Mm-mm.
So I'm like, it's good for you, but this is my path. And my
Mm-hmm.
father has been um it's interesting. He's accepting. We don't have any clashes on that front, but we do have very deep, deep talks about God, and that if there's anything I can take away from my father, is that he always, one of the things I asked him, it was like, what is what's something, a piece of advice that you'll give me that'll stick for life, and he says, keep yourself in love with God.
Ashe.
And I was like, that's beautiful. And
Yeah.
that's something that's like that's universal. I feel like that
Yes.
crosses all doctrines, all religions. It's
Yes.
like just keep yourself, and that's something that I've always felt of like, seeing how he'd get up in the morning and read his Bible and do his prayers and do his workout and drink his tea and have his
Yes.
Irish moss. Like he's very much a herb roots man. Like
Mm-hmm.
I grew up making Irish moss and boiling
Okay.
roots and shredding coconut and doing all these things. And he comes
Yes.
back from Jamaica and he got all kind of bush. And I said, how did you get
Mm-hmm.
this past home? How did you get this past the agricultural people? You got every type of fever grass and Cinca Bible, this and all type of what, Daddy? How did this get in the country? I said, this is illegal. I got all kind of herbs. Thank God. I got a whole bag full of herbs in there right now with the
Yeah.
roots and dirt still on it, Daddy. How do you do this? And he's always been somebody who talks about health and everything. So like when I read that in your bio, and I'm like, this is something that again it's cultural. But
Yes.
like when you think about how our ancestors used the herbs and things like that, the next question is, in what ways would you say that your ancestor work influences your community work as a healer and as an educator?
Yeah. I would say, because I am a birth worker, I am heavily tapping into the ancestors' wisdom, in terms of the herbalism. I don't have certifications with herbalism. I kind of go around the idea of going into that. But I think to myself, I have so many certifications. Do I really need another one? Or can I just get into the work and just do the work and study the herbs myself and apply it like my ancestors would apply it and just do that? Um, and so as a birth worker and working in the community, to me, being a birth worker is the deepest devotion of honoring the great mothers. Because you're working with mothers, new mothers, parents, in general, families who are now welcoming in a new family member, right? A new soul coming earthside. And that's a very deeply spiritual thing to me. And there's a lot of preparation that takes place that is beyond just the conception of the soul, but, beyond all that. So for me, my ancestors were very deeply tied with herbalism, I would say. And even my father himself, he was, a bushman, farmer. We had our own garden in the backyard, even in that small little home that as small as it seemed. Like we had a very bountiful garden, and he always made it very clear to us as children, like, like this is the abundance, like the earth is your abundance, like you take care of it, it'll take care of you. And in his father way, that meant do your duties and make sure the garden was clean up, and not
Looking
messy
crazy.
and looking crazy. But it always had something to provide and so much abundance. But there was also lots of herbs that were grown. Lots of teas were made. His answer for everything was drink tea, drink tea, drink tea. If I was sick, he would actually get so upset. He's like, I know you're not drinking your tea. I'm like, can you just stop? Like, I'm literally dying here and you're talking about tea right now, my guy. I don't want no seriously tea. Like, stop with the like, I'm over it.
Seriously, please. That is so funny. My father definitely cursed me out a few weeks ago. Like, I noticed you don't drink nothing hot a morning time. What is that? I
Oh
said,
my
bro,
goodness.
I would like a nice cup of juice in the morning. I don't always want to. It was we had a heat wave, 90 degrees at 8 o'clock in the
Yeah.
morning. I don't want to drink no hot tea first thing in the morning. Leave me alone. Oh
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah. But I'm so grateful because now I see, full circle how it's now come and brought me
Yes,
to
yes, yes, yes.
all this knowledge and interest in things. And so now I can use that knowledge to guide my clients, when they're getting ready to bring their babies earthside. But because I'm a holistic doula, I'm definitely leaning towards water births, at home births, leaning on the herbs, leaning on the Irish moss to help with lactation and all these other things that we do. The sitz baths afterwards, and really honoring that 40-day, 40-night cycle of the mother and child and family, the village, protecting the mother, like really like all of that stuff. The spiritual work that comes with that, like it's very deep, So to me, that's where it really, really shines. And my ancestors always like to say to me, like, you do your little cards and ting over here with your stuff, but like the doula stuff, the birth work, that's where we really, like, that's the very serious, serious, serious stuff. So it's very sacred in that way, and it's very much about the community. To me, birth work is also about reminding people to return back to themselves, because you're kind of having to recognize your body in this new way, and your environment and how your body reacts to your environments in different ways, because now your senses are also very heightened too. Earlier we were talking about how when we were younger, like during puberty, a lot of things heightened. I think too, like for those who are carrying children, like in that time frame, like you're in between realms 24/7.
Mm.
So you always clocked in, and you probably very tired. So there's a lot of spiritual maintenance and cleansing, etc., that goes on with that too, you know? So for me, I think there's a lot of returning to self with that, and learning to honor the new self, in this new phase that comes with that. So it's very ancestral, and it's very much about supporting the community as they figure out who they are, in that. And that can look very different for a lot of people. And of course, the big climax being the birth. That's really when the portals between the realms are really open. So, calling down the ancestors, their ancestors, ensuring that they have their own practice with that. And if they don't, we're talking about
That's
building
beautiful.
altars and etc. to ensure that they're around, because when someone is coming through, they are there. So you want to make sure that they are there, and they make sure that everything is going as you are desiring. We cannot control everything, no, but we can do our best with what we have. And we can do a lot with what we have.
That is
And
so beautiful.
yeah.
I love this concept of in moving people towards ancestor work, especially in their pregnancy. To be
Yes.
like, because I personally believe that we are all ancestors returned. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so like that baby, that's grandma. That's great great
Yeah.
grandma. And it's like she's probably standing right there, like, make sure you do it right.
Yeah,
Make sure you do it right.
exactly.
Make sure you get this herb. Make sure you get this to give her this, give her
Yes.
that, and like that type of energy and that type of reverence,
Yes.
and I was speaking with my last guest, and we talked about the importance of more black and brown women in
Mm-hmm.
birthing spaces because of the crisis that we face, because of the medical racism, because of our mortality rates in childbirth and in
Yes.
pregnancy, postpartum, all of those things, and how that's such
Mm-hmm.
a we already live in a society that's so stressful, that's so
Mm-hmm.
hard, that's so
Mm-hmm.
oppressive. And like you're saying, you're having a baby. It's the most vulnerable time of your life. Like you could die. Like that
Yeah.
is it's literally
Very
life and
real.
death.
It's
It's
very
very
real.
real,
Mm-hmm.
and to have people there that support, understand, respect people's ancestral practices, respect people's indigeneity, respecting people's sovereignty in this time, like without trying to push them into doing and feeling things that they don't want to do, without distressing them, without like that's
Yes.
all such a very important part of that work. So I can understand why your ancestors are like, okay, this is the real work over here, and you're like, yes, this is real work over here too. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
this other stuff, my cards and the astrology, like all of that's real too, But
Yes.
I think sometimes like the ancestors are funny like that because they're like, yeah, that's what
Yeah.
you do. That ain't got nothing to do with me. And you're like, okay,
Yeah.
don't be like that. All right.
No, they're honestly like, oh, they're so, I can't with them sometimes. Yeah, they're very much present in everything with Mystic Me Medicine, but they have let it be known, especially kind of recently, like, okay, now that you're really confident in yourself in this, and you see now what you can do, like, we can still gonna support this and all that, but this is the work. Like, this is ours over here. This one's yours. This one is ours, and currently I'm trying to figure out how do I bring both sides together into like one kind of space, because it's a lot, but yeah, they're very much about the birth work and the community work and the making of the herbal medicines, the oils, the infused oils, the creams, the butters, the body oils, like all of it. They work in me. Like they work in me. They work in me.
Okay.
They
Listen,
work in me.
I have to tell them all the time, like, I'm one person, right? I am one person. I
Yeah.
have a life, I have a job, I have other things that I want to do. If it was up to y'all have me just in here just toiling away. Just
No, for real, they
but
would.
then on the same token, they'll turn around and be like, why you don't go and live your life? When you go find a nice man? Wait a minute now. What do you want from me? What do you want from
Yeah,
me? So I'm very happy that there are more people like you coming into these spaces and with walking with all your ancestors and honoring them, honoring yourself, inspiring others. Because we do need more people in
we
this space.
do.
Like we need
Yes.
to spread the work around. It is a lot
Yes.
of
It's a
work.
lot. Yes. Yes. And that's something I want to say too, because I think that with doula work, I kind of noticed that just like with the yoga industry, when I entered the yoga industry, it was very much very white, and very much like everyone was becoming a certified yoga teacher, like there was just practices and certification programs popping up everywhere, and that's beautiful. That industry is probably a multi-billion industry still to this day. So I say that to say, for people who are thinking about doing this work and feel like, oh, it's oversaturated, it's this, it's that, that's that mindset. You got to break that. There is space for all of us. There is no such thing as too much healing.
No,
Okay. So if it's calling you, it'll keep calling you, and answer the call. Take your time with it, because this work is very serious. That's what I realized. And I'm taking my time with it, but answer the call, because there's work to be done. There's work to be done. Yeah. It's,
absolutely.
it's a
And I
lot.
think, and like I said, like you said, yoga can be a very white space. Astrology can also be a very whitewashed space.
Oh, listen.
And I'm gonna be fair. Like I'm one of those people where if I'm scrolling through and I'm looking for readings or whatever, I need to find a person that look like me. Like I need
Yeah.
that. Like I will listen to everybody's things, but I'm gravitating towards the people that speak in my language, that understand what and can speak to me in that way. And the same way, why that's why we need more of us there, because there's
Yes.
some of us that really need healing, and we're hesitant to go to other people. We're hesitant. We're like,
Yeah.
I want to learn more about yoga, but I don't want to be the only black person at the studio.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
don't really feel comfortable with that. Or,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want somebody to look at my body and make assumptions about
Mm-hmm.
my body. Like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the things that we are dealing with in this society is just like the stigmatization of our black bodies and of our
Yes.
culture. And like,
Yes.
I mean, so much of health and wellness is very white, it's very colonial, it's
Yes.
very fat phobic, it's very anti-black,
Yes.
and they're telling you that, oh, you're obese. And I'm like, listen, I went to Jamaica, I went to a funeral, I seen about four cousins that had the same body as mine. And
Okay.
I'm looking at, and I'm like, damn, that's what I look like. Oh, okay. Like literally the same everything, same height, same build, same everything. And
Yeah.
it's just like, wow, like if I would have seen more bodies that looked like mine when I was younger, I might have had a different relationship with my body as I was coming
Yeah.
into it. I wouldn't have
Yeah.
felt that there was something wrong with my size or my
Yeah.
heft or like some of us just
Yeah.
born you just set like
Yeah.
that. You can't do nothing. Like my mother tells me, she's like, "You little, your legs is thick like this, and then, you still got the same legs." And I'm like, "Yeah, you go to school with a bunch of girls that are way skinnier and
Mm-hmm.
got different body types than you. You walk around
Mm-hmm.
feeling like I'm so this and
Yeah.
I'm so that, So it's like it is important. That representation is very, very important in
It
all of these
is.
healing spaces. Um, so let's pivot to astrology because
Yes.
it says that you got into it as a preteen. I also got into
Yes.
astrology as a preteen, just like reading too many
Yes.
grown people books about astrology and being
Oh my
confused. But like,
goodness.
what was some of your like? How did you get into it? Um, how did you know that this was a like? Because you're a certified astrologer, correct?
Yes. And the way I got into it was preteen age. So I'm going to say 11, 12 years old. I started to buy, um, the J14 magazine, the M magazines, and they had horoscopes. And yeah, some of the local newspapers had horoscopes too, but they were kind of small and they weren't as glossy and like fabulous looking as the magazines ones were with the little celebrities, like birthday lineup and all that. And so I would take those magazines and I would read the horoscopes and I would start to kind of study like what characteristics and words were being used at the time. And I kind of understood and learned about the archetypes at that point just through that alone. And then I was like, I wonder what else I can learn about this. And so, you know, the library is a great resource. Thank goodness for that. And the book fairs, the scholastic book fairs, where they would have little things here and there, but it was always very like fast food astrology. It wasn't always very, very, very in-depthful until I got a little bit older. I would say until I was like a teenager where I found that kind of stuff. But when I decided to take it professionally and to the next level, I would say was after my trip to Jamaica in 2019. Up until that point, I was just keeping it all within, you know, just like studying it myself, applying it to myself, working my own magic, do my own thing, da 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 da. I don't think I even had like an account where I was sharing my stuff. It was so like just in a closet, the broom closet, I say. And that's just where I kept it all that time. And then after that trip, everything had changed and I was like, okay, well, you know what? We're going to offer this now as a service, and not even as a service first, but really just taking up space online and kind of seeing what's out there in the community by me sharing about what I know about astrology, you know, about the moon, the new moon, the full moon, giving little things here and there. And eventually I built up my confidence to kind of tap into the cards. I didn't start with tarot cards. I started with the oracle because I was very much with my astrology. And I don't know. I can't even think of like really, I guess, when it really took off, but just, you know, the receipts be telling the truth. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, the truth don't lie. The truth is in the cosmos, you know, certification to me in this realm is very complicated too, because it is also very white and it's very much about having standards to that approach. So when I was actually looking to get certified and I looked into it, I was like, okay, I mean, I know from a business standpoint, people are probably looking for that. But I was also like, you know, my people are my people and my work will speak for itself. I don't need a certification that a bunch of, you know, whatever European standards that they've created to say that this is the standard, because sorry, sometimes the standard should not be the standard. And that's a whole other discussion. So I was like, do I really want to be associated with that? Even because that can put other labels on how you see yourself, you know. And I hear all these people talk about genuine and authenticity. Is that really authenticity? Like, okay, I mean, I'm not knocking it, but like, is it? You know. So I think as a mystic, like being very discerning, like we talked about, there's a lot of fast food astrology out there, and it can be fun to tap into the little pop culture things here and there, but there is a lot of fear mongering, and that can trigger a lot of people with anxiety and just concerns about the future. And so having a practical approach is very, very, very important. And so I try to create a balance of both, where sometimes, yes, I'll share these little memes and nonsense things because I think that we need humor. We need, you know, humor, and that's medicine. I have a little bit of a dark humor myself. Like, I can't help it. It is what it is. Um, you know, but it's always coming from a good place, I will say. But when I'm talking about the astrology and I'm getting real serious, you know, the tone kind of switches up and Mystic Mommy clocks in, and, you know, we get into the business. So yeah, I don't know. Astrology kind of found me, I don't want to say by accident. It just fell in my hands and it was a curiosity thing. And then every little thing that I was into as a child, even like, I remember we were children and playing games like MASH and like,
Oh, I love
you
MASH.
know, like
I
I
live for
love
some MASH.
MASH. My
Like,
Libra ass, I could not get enough of MASH. Oh yeah,
oh wait,
tell me
you're a
who I'm
Libra?
gonna. Yes, I'm a Libra. Yeah, so
October or September?
October
October what?
the 13th.
I'm the 17th. Oh my gosh.
Ooh, there you
Yes.
go.
Oh my god.
Yes,
I
there's a
didn't
full
know that.
moon. There's a full moon on your
It
birthday.
is. My birthday is a full moon. Oh, and I want to ask you about that. Okay, so
Yes.
before I ask you about the moons, what's your take on this Mars and Cancer transit?
Mars in Cancer is a very long transit for us this time of year, and it's going to last quite a long time. Mars in Cancer is actually Mars in its fall. So Mars is exalted in Capricorn, which I think, if you think about what Mars represents, which is to me vitality, strength, war, precision, being able to create a plan, right? Attack, defense, protection. This is all Martian energy. Saturn is very good at all those things. Capricorn is very good at swimming the deeps of the depths and also the highest of mountains, right? So Capricorn exalted it for Mars. It makes a lot of sense. That being said, a crab ain't built the same way. Okay, a crab is going to move sideways. A really good crab is going to be Sebastian and go from place to place under the ocean for you and figure out some things. But a lot of that's not really happening in real life. So Mars in Cancer is, you know, yes, we're still moving with intention, and yes, we know we have these desires and things, but now our emotions are taking so much power over how we move that potentially we're not even moving at all. So sometimes we
Mm.
have this thing I like to call, um, when we become paralyzed in the analyzation because we just don't know how to move. It's either by fear, right? It's the fear that's holding us back, or the doubts, etc., whatever you want to call it. And so with Mars in Cancer, there's a lot of that that's brewing in the collective. Cancer is about the family ties, your origins, your ancestors, your family home, physically, energetically speaking, spiritually speaking, the ancestors. So people could be actually gaining new ancestors at this time as well, a lot during this transit. So to me, Mars in Cancer is about mourning and kind of releasing and letting go of plans and things that maybe are being redirected right now. And the fact that this is happening as we're moving into eclipse season is very important to note. As I was looking at the charts for Mars in Cancer, it aligns so well with the eclipse series that we have on the Virgo Pisces axis, which is kind of crazy. So I say that to say, like, everything that's happening right now during this transit, which is going to go on from now. So, from now to like 2025, right? We have this transit going on. Mars just recently entered Cancer, but Mars is going to enter Leo as of November 3rd. But before November 3rd, about a month before that, so on October 4th, Mars is going to enter what we call the pre-retrograde shadow period in
Okay.
Cancer. So as of right now, Mars is in the sign that it'll be in the pre-retrograde shadow period for. And that's why this transit is very important. Now, as we move further into October, into Libra season, honey, we having our good time, right? We're going to move into Mars entering Leo November 3rd, but then eventually Mars stations retrograde in that sign on December 6th, and then won't station direct until February 23rd of next year. Now, that being said, it won't leave the post-retrograde shadow period until May 2nd. So
Oh wow.
it's a very long transit. And as we look at that timeline too, we're going to have eclipses taking place, right? We have the first part happening now as Mars is first entering Cancer, right? We have the first one on September 17th, and then we have the solar eclipse in Libra on October 2nd. Full moon in Aries on October 17th on your birthday. Love that. So, we have those things going on. The Aries full moon is not an eclipse, but it is a super moon, just like the lunar eclipse in Pisces, and just like the blue moon we had in Aquarius last year. I don't know why that happens to me sometimes. So, that is also part of the series. And so when we fast forward to Pisces season next year, February 23rd of next year, we're officially in Pisces season. So now we're getting prepared for the next round of eclipses, including the lunar eclipse in Virgo. So there's a lot of mourning and shedding with this particular transit to do with this past I don't want to say reality, but like past timeline. And there's this need for acceptance of what is and for what is coming through. Kind of like the, what do you call it? The chariot card in the tarot. You know, that is very much the Cancer tarot sign, but it's very much Mars in Cancer, you know? Like the divine is going to pull you out of this, divine will pull you through this and into the next level. So getting close to the mothers is very important this transit. Being on top of your spiritual protection and hygiene is very, very important. If you're not on top of it, it's going to show because there will be all kinds of blockages going on. Okay. Um, yeah, you know, definitely the mothers though. Like Mars in Cancer is very much like tending to your motherly wounds, especially like all that stuff is coming up too with this transit. But if we are holding on to baggage and we're not allowing ourselves the freedom to release it over time and in a healthy way, then that's where we're going to start to see those blockages taking place. So if you burning open row candles and they not doing nothing, it's probably because you're holding on to something that you should be holding on to or that you haven't forgiven yourself for. There's a lot of
Mm.
forgiveness with this transit as well. And most people are going to think it's about other people, but it's really about them and this internal battle that's going on. So,
Ooh,
yeah.
girl, you just spoke a word. Okay. Oh my gosh. Because I'm here thinking, as you're speaking, I'm like, yeah, that's tracking. You know, of like healing those like forgiving your mothers for things where it's like seeing things from their perspective and realizing, we went through this with my family recently, a
Mm,
couple years ago when I was speaking with my cousin and we was talking about our grandmother, our shared Jamaican grandmother, and she was just
mm,
like, oh, well, she should have did this and she should have did that and she should have did this. And I said, well, look at the time that she was in. I was like, could you have dealt with the cards that she was dealt with? Like, could you have
right.
handled that? I couldn't handle that shit. I tell
Okay.
you right
I'm
now,
not built that way.
I
Period.
was not I was not doing all of
Yeah.
that. I'm like she endured so much and I could understand her hardness and her reluctance to be
Yeah.
emotional, all that stuff because like a lot of things were taken from her. And if we think about the women that come
Mm,
before us, a lot of them did not have the agency to live their lives in the way that they freely wanted to live their lives. So like
mm-hmm.
it's very interesting now to see all of the things coming up about all this legislation on women's bodies and on our rights and all of,
Yes.
and trying to take away our rights and trying to take away
Yes.
our reproductive rights and, trying to force now, this whole rise of this like trad wife content and like trying to force women
Oh,
back into the kitchen barefoot
listen.
and pregnant. And you're like,
Listen.
okay,
The
my grandmother did that
glamour
already.
the glamour is very real. The glamour on all that is very real. Mars in Cancer is going to highlight a lot of the imbalance in those kind of relationships and connections where women who, okay, if you think you can create this trad wife lifestyle for yourself where you have the abundance to grow your own garden, have a farm, make sourdough bread, wear fucking ribbons in your hair, and all that cute little shit. Great. Good for you. You know, at the end of the day, are you a girl's girl or not? Because I don't give a shit if you wear a corset or not. Are you a girl's girl or not? Are you standing at the fields? Are you lighting the candles to the patriarchy? Are you burning down the shit? Okay. Are you standing up for women's rights? Are you saying like are you schooling your father? We the granddaughters of the women that you burned. Okay, you're also the granddaughters of the men that tie them to the stake. So let's talk about that. Okay? Are you doing the work or not? I don't If you want that lifestyle, there's nothing wrong with that. We don't need to villainize that lifestyle. It's become this weird soft porn thing for the divine masculine, really and truly, because they got a lot of mommy issues, I think, to heal themselves. Okay, and that's why this stuff is so real and so popular because it's feeding they want to be the bad bitch in the relationship. Okay, like that's why they love that ish. But for the women who are saying they want to tap into that, cool, fine, do your thing. But are you holding people down? Are you schooling the people in your life? Are you holding them accountable so they can change their ways? Because your presence matters, you know? And if you want to be that person who has that stay at home kind of lifestyle, change the dynamic so that the next generation can learn. That's also breaking generational curses. It don't have to be abracadabra with a complicated spell. It can be something as simple as honoring your boundaries that your mama didn't have the privilege of having.
Yes. Yes. And I definitely feel like this, I do feel like it's very dangerous for us to push certain rhetoric in this like very precarious time. Like I said, we're losing our rights. We're,
Yeah.
when was femicide is up. It ain't never going down. It's not going down. Like women are dying. And you sitting here talking about how I need to wear more dresses and cook for my man, girl. The
Listen,
hell that got to do with the? What are you talking about?
it's so interesting to me because I remember before the pandemic, you know, the hashtag witches of Instagram blew up, and I really thought it was going to take a turn where this major awakening was going to happen, where we were going to see more of that becoming the norm. And that's not what's happening at all. It's like this major glamour spell of, if you just give your voice away to the sea witch, you too can have legs and live on land. And I'm like,
Um,
perhaps not, because why would I do that?
like why are we doing this? To what aim? And
Like, it's a
I,
trap. It's a trap. It feels very trappish. It feels very like the exotic bird in the golden cage, that gets pulled out every full moon. Look at my beautiful trophy, blah, 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 blah. And that's very dangerous. It can be very, very, very dangerous. It can support all kinds of cycles of abuse. Let's be for real, you
mm-hmm.
know, which is very unfortunate because I don't think that the women who are trying to be in that, I think they're seeking healing. I think they're seeking this softness from the Great Mother.
I was just about to say that this ease, which we
Mm-hmm.
do deserve ease, and I get that, but I think that we're doing ourselves a disservice. We as a collective will do
Mm-hmm.
ourselves a disservice to think that we're gonna find ease in the patriarchy. There is no ease in the patriarchy. Like you're not gonna find ease being barefoot and pregnant. Like and then again, like you said, maybe it's good for you, but what about the woman next door? Okay, maybe it's your choice to stay home. And what about the girl next door? What if she don't have that choice? Are you
Yeah.
okay? Are you cool with her choices being stripped from her? Are you cool with somebody telling her
Yeah.
that she can't go to school? Because that was my grandmother's experience. They went to
Mm.
England, and my grandfather was like, my grandmother said, "I wanted to be a nurse," and your grandfather told me, "I didn't bring you here to go to school." And
Damn.
that shit broke my heart. I said, "I don't know you better, you better than me, because he would have got a special dinner that night, and none of us would exist." You feel
Rhubarb
me?
pie featuring the leaves and all, okay?
Okay, a little aqua tofana sprinkled in. Because who you talking to? Telling me you ain't bring me here to go to school? That's nuts. And just to think that
Yeah.
that's in our grandmother's lifetimes, they had to live with things like that. So it's very scary to see
It's
women
scary.
willingly marching back
It's
into the house
scary.
like I'm good, and it's like,
And this is the thing about Pluto Aquarius that I had shared on my podcast. I had said to people, like, people want to talk about Pluto Aquarius as this like great rebellious thing. I'm like, listen, let me tell you something about Aquarius. Aquarius is a fixed sign, which means it's their way or their highway. They see their vision, okay? And then when I talk about Pluto Aquarius, we have to look back at history because, yes,
what happened the last time when Pluto was in Aquarius?
people like to talk about the last time of Pluto and Aquarius, and they talk about the Haitian Revolution, and like, okay, that's great. Yes, the Haitian Revolution happened. Yes, the French Revolution happened. Those are very, very great, iconic things. But when you go further in time of Pluto and Aquarius, we have Constantine, and we have all kinds of other shenanigans of kings getting beheaded and all types of fuckery. Okay? So it's not really a consistent pattern of revolution. It's a consistent pattern of a fixed vision being pushed to the extreme on the
Mm.
smaller people. That's the pattern that I see personally. And if y'all don't see what's going on, if enough people believe this as the vision they gonna have, then that's what it's gonna be in the reality. Like, yes, the real human females and people that want to be home making sourdough and all this kind of stuff, they're gonna be doing that. The AI is gonna take over the jobs and the this and that, and that's what's gonna happen. It's not about revolution and rebellion. That happens if the collective vision is freedom. But if one extreme vision is what's the brightest light, the false light, okay, because there's a lot of sacred texts that talk about the Antichrist coming in the age of Aquarius. Let's talk about that too. Hello. Yeah. uh this is the extreme vision that gets pushed. So Pluto in Aquarius has a lot of potential, but Aquarius energy is very extreme, very, very, very extreme. And I like to look back at the mythology of it all. Saturn as a father in mythology, and how he forced himself upon Mother Earth to create all these different beings, including Venus. okay, and all other things, and it's just messy. So yes, Pluto and Aquarius energy, age of Aquarius is all very positive. It is the birth of freedom. It's supposed to be the end of toxic empires, but it's only going to replace another patriarchal empire if people don't wake the F up and start lighting and sharpening the machetes now, because time is ticking.
Ooh, that's a
So
word right there.
yeah, like Mars in Cancer, yes, mourn what was. It's never going to be what it was. Acceptance, forgiveness, release, all that will come in time, right? Respect the mothers. You don't have to have a close relationship with them and those in your life, but respect the mothers, respect the great mother, have a relationship with the great cosmic mother, because she will never leave you. Okay? But we have to get very serious about our stuff, because as these eclipses are happening on the Virgo Pisces axis, reality is very much being played with. It's very much giving red pill, blue pill.
And I mean, I think it's even ironic that the red pill rhetoric is you need to be looking like this, wearing, being like that, popping out them babies, shutting the fuck up, and don't give me, no sass, and I need my dinner on the table. I said, well, what year was this?
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
no,
like,
no.
and it's just like I said, it's frightening to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not, I ain't trying to embarrass none of my family members or whatever. I don't know how many of them listen, but listen, it's my show and I'm put my joint, all right. But I definitely had a cousin a couple years ago hit me with some. She wanted to quit her job and stay
Mm.
home, and I'm like, stay home to do what exactly? And your man don't have no good job like that. So you gonna stay home in
Mm-hmm.
poverty? I'm confused.
Mm-mm.
One, two, you have a viable business. You gonna give up your business? You're gonna give up your
Mm.
agency? You're gonna give up you to stay
Mm.
hong? And she was just like, well, I'm conservative. This and that. I'm like, I feel you on all of that, but
Conservatives
what
are
if we?
rich.
Okay, like why are you adopting these mental, this
Yeah,
mentality, this mindset that, and I think people just want something. They want something to believe in. They want to
they
feel
want
like they're a part of
ease.
something. They want ease.
Yes,
And I
yes.
get that. Like I said, as Black people in the Americas, I totally
Mm-hmm.
understand wanting
Mm-hmm.
ease, but I feel like it is just a dangerous, very slippery slope to start sliding down, because it's like, all right, you do realize that in the end of the day, there's still a hierarchy, and we are not at the top of it. So we're not even considered in the spoils and the benefits of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like even now with our election here in the United States, our election cycle,
Yes.
they're trying to
Oof,
figure out, okay,
child.
why is so many Black men gravitating towards the alt right and all these things? And it's like, honey, we got a problem, okay? We
Listen,
got
the
a big
insecure.
problem. You
It's
know,
so deep.
it's so
It's
deeply
nasty.
rooted in this,
Yes.
like, I
Yes.
want to try to be a part of this thing that hates me, and in turn I'm going to
Mm.
take on that hatred. I'm going to hate my women, I'm going to hate my mother, I'm going to hate myself, and I'm going to turn all of that in, and I'm going to get something from y'all. And it's like, why do you think that's going to work? When did that ever work? When did that never work?
It's
That's
just
not.
self-destruction. It's self-destruction. It's the self-destruction, it's the self-destruction of it all. Like I think for the men in our community, it's a very tantalizing glamour
Yeah,
potion of, if you drink
of
this,
course.
you gonna be everything. You'll get everything. We'll give you a nice, basic, questionable looking, wifey who will do everything and screw you in missionary, make you feel good, and go on your knees and make you feel like the god you are, and cook you a nice steak dinner, and give you strong, strapping boys. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm thinking
Yeah, like,
like big Gaston energy from like Beauty and the Beast. Like, I don't
yes, yes, yes. And what do you mean you need books? You have to read
know.
this stuff. There's no pictures in it. Like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa, sir, don't throw out my good books because you want me to be barefoot and pregnant. You're crazy.
Yeah, no, it's very complicated, and honestly, there might be, even, I think, in this Mars and Cancer transit, a lot of women and people who are in those kind of connections that they thought were a safe space where duality could exist, where they could recognize and learn to create space for that kind of softness, while also being a powerful being and having their own business or having their own job, or and having a supportive partner. And maybe they're going to realize in this Mars and Cancer transit, like, they were supportive because you weren't suppressing them. But now that you really in your big bag, things change. Okay, that everyone, yeah, I'm a feminist. Oh, I'm cool. Yeah, you cool until I'm surpassing you, and now it's a problem.
Now I need to sit down. Now I'm doing too much.
Now you want
Now
to
I think
humble me.
now
Yeah,
I'm,
yeah. Now
I'm
you
big
want to
money
humble.
now.
Right now you want to humble me. Now you're not giving me as many compliments, and it's like all this weird energy, So there's gonna be a lot of that as well, but I don't want people to fear this transit. There is nothing to fear. This transit is going to be so healing and so important. Now, that being said, Mars in Cancer is taking place and squaring the nodes. Okay, so right now the nodes of fate, the north node is in Aries, the south node is in Libra. So Libras, whatever placement you have in Libra, but especially your big three, this past like year and a half has been a lot of deep trauma shedding, releasing, lots of shadow work, lots of, oh, I have more growing to do. And that's great. That's beautiful. If you're not there yet, it's coming. Okay. But there's a lot of that going on. So with Mars now in Cancer, especially in the early degrees of Mars in Cancer, like it is right now, um, it is squaring the nodes. So there's a lot of outgrowing of comfort zones right now for the cardinal signs, Libras, Aries especially, but also the Cancers and the Capricorns because of that square. So there's a lot of outgrowing of old paths that you thought was destiny that you're realizing, oh wait, I was just getting really comfortable in a role that you gave me. And that's not the one that God, that the universe, that the creator has written for me. And I got it twisted for a second, but let me reintroduce myself. So there's going to be a lot of freeing in this transit too. And that's why I'm saying do not fear it. Like whatever happens, happens. If it falls, it falls.
Okay.
The mother will provide always.
Okay. I received that. I like that. And in terms of like super moons, because people hear the term super moon and they're like, oh, what does that mean? Like we have like three coming up in succession, right?
Yes.
So like
Yes.
how can like what does that mean and how can people work with that energy,
Yeah.
right now?
Yeah, so for 2024 there was four in total. We had the blue moon in Aquarius. We have the Pisces lunar eclipse, which is happening on the 17th of September. That's the second blue moon. For that one, I would say stay home, mind your business for that eclipse. Personally, I'm not saying you shouldn't watch the eclipse. If you want to go outside and watch the eclipse, sure, go ahead. It's not a solar eclipse, so I think it's okay to watch it per se. But if you feel an inclination that says to stay home, or like you want to be like more kind of reserved, you want to cover your head, you want to wear your whites that day, whatever you're feeling, do that. Do not engage with alcohol or drugs. I don't care how controlled the space environment you were in. Try your best to not engage in those things under that eclipse during that week, etc., etc., etc. After this moon cycle. This eclipse conjuncts Neptune, so there's going to be a lot of
Illusion,
yeah,
a lot of misperception
mm-hmm.
kind of thing.
Misperception, but also poison. Neptune's story comes with kidnapping and poisoning, okay? Like Neptune's not just some little mermaid man who runs the no. He a menace, okay? So there's going to be all kinds of things going on. So for this particular supermoon, I would say, rest, replenish, relax, listen to your body, etc. The moon after that, the supermoon in Aries on the 17th of October, Aries energy is very bold. It's not an eclipse per se, but it is a full moon that started under the solar eclipse in Libra prior to that. So it could still have a bit of ecliptic kind of energy to it. So if you're still feeling like you want to rest and just chill out, do that, I would say. If you feel called to do protection work, do that for sure. Okay, Aries energy, this is a full moon that's going to be ruled by Mars. Mars will be in Cancer. So even that moon to Mars connection will be also a square, which means friction.
Mm.
Astrologers call squares conflict. And yes, it is bringing conflict. To me, conflict equals tension. Tension equals fire, friction. And that's good if you want to work that left hand or if you want to work a little something, something. Okay, it's about perspective. I very much work with the cosmos, with my altar work and etc. So I'm always looking at it from a different angle, or I say try to, and that's where the groundingness comes in my practice. I like to share. The last one we're gonna have is the supermoon in Taurus. and that'll be on November 15th. And so, you know, the moon is exalted in Taurus, which means she loves being in Taurus. So I would say, yes, work whatever abundance, magic, rituals, petitions, writings, etc., etc., etc. It's a moon ruled by Venus, especially. So for us who are Venetians, like this is also, you know, big mama energy. So we definitely want to tap into that. You know, and obviously you want to look at your own, you know, astro chart to kind of see what houses are being illuminated during these things I'm talking about, because that'll also give you some more ideas and inspiration of what you can really tap into. But yeah, for the first two, I would say, especially for the first one, you know, chill a little bit. Second one, you know, do your protection, stock up your apothecary, do your thing, etc. But as we're going into the last one, that's when I would say you're really doing your abundance work. November 15th is a couple of weeks after All Saints Day and the Day of the Dead and all that. So at that point, you know, the veil is indeed very thin. So there's lots of messages coming in. The sun is in Scorpio at that time. So there's a lot of information coming in, very important information coming in. And that moon will connect with Mars and Cancer in its own way too. So I feel like the